Snow days, that quintessential part of everyone's childhood, the thing that drives forward a lot of movies, and the thing everybody looks forward to on that first big snow. Unless you're me and you grew up in a place where snow days are just not a thing, apparently. Now, I have a snow day for the first time ever, and I had one yesterday too, so that's why this video is coming out in lieu of the usual ones that I make about, here's what I did in school today, because, yeah, school's just not a thing for me, for the next 2 days, and I am going a little stir-crazy, because I'll be honest, I don't really know what to do. So, for those of you who don't know, I moved somewhat recently to go to school in another part of the country, and, I don't really know what to do here. The roads are terrible because nobody here is used to the idea of driving through snow. So whenever we do get snow, it's pretty bad. And if you're wondering how bad the snow actually is, it looks a little bit like this. And it's currently snowing, which doesn't even show up on my camera very well. But seeing as it's winter, I figure it might be relevant to talk about some pretty common winter things that I did growing up. So without further ado, let's get into that, shall we? Like most kids, I was always ridiculously into snowball fights, but I also suck at aiming. I never really played baseball or any other similar throwing sports, and when it came to dodgeball, I mean, as much as I made a joke about that when I talked about working out, I kind of suck at throwing balls. I can't aim very well for one reason or another. And the hand-eye coordination is just not there. I wish I had relevant footage to play here, but I do not, sadly. And I can't really record anything because a lot of these are stories from my childhoods. So, what do you want me to say? But I do have some fun stories that I guess I'll share that I would have done if snow days were actually a thing here. Whenever it was Christmas time, we'd always go over to my grandmother's house and we would go sledding because she had a pretty big ski hill. Well, I say ski hill, but it was more like a steep incline, essentially, that was perfect for sledding. It would suck for skiing. But, you know, we would always go there and spend like an hour or two every Christmas when I was younger, just going down that hill. And it was always something that I really looked forward to. We would also do the same at local parks and pretty much just any large bank of snow that we could find that was good enough for sledding. It was good enough for us to get outside. I've never actually made a snowman, to my recollection. There were definitely times where at school we would make these giant balls of snow, but the thing is, where I live, it doesn't just get cold, it freezes. So we don't necessarily get a lot of snow. What we get is a lot of very white ice. And yes, snow is ice, obviously, but what I mean is, if we were to make a snowman, or we were to, make a giant snowball, it would essentially freeze in place. And when I say freeze in place, I mean you could not move that thing with all of the strength that every single fifth grader could muster at the same time, because it was just frozen into the ground, and it was not moving no matter what you did. This made for a really dangerous, albeit enjoyable obstacle when we were playing soccer. And yes, as if running around on ice were not a bad enough idea, let's add an element where we're kicking a ball at people and hoping they don't just get absolutely destroyed by that as we continue. I really do wonder what it would be like for people who had regular snow days. I know that a lot of people who I went to high school with lived more on the countryside, so whenever they would get stuck, the highways would always shut down, and they'd get stuck outside of town, and they would get a day off, which I always thought was really cool. But now I'm an adult who has to go to university, and it's not as cool as I thought it was. There's not really much I can do because traffic is literally so bad here, or at least it has been when it really got snowing, that buses just don't run, or they're super delayed if they do, and the streets are so packed full of traffic that it basically looks like the cars are just a solid unbroken line, rather than a bunch of individual vehicles. That said, I actually quite like the snow. I have a lot of really fun memories with it because between having snowball fights with my dad or my friends, wherein I would get absolutely decimated but still had a lot of fun, or whether it was going out and sledding or skiing and just having those solid memories that I can go back to with my family, it's always something that I've really enjoyed. And having to have 2 snow days in a row when I'm actively, paying to go to school and wanting to do these classes, it's a little bit disappointing in its own way, but Well, it's a lot disappointing, actually. I do really wish that I could be at school, especially because I've kind of just finished most of the schoolwork I have, so I don't really have anything in that regard to work on either. And it's not a good feeling to have nothing to do and just feel like you're sitting around all day for me, because I got to do that for like 2 months straight because I had to wait from September to December to go to school. So now that I'm here and I'm immediately getting back into that routine, and I've got a dorm room that's about as big as a above average size closet, it's it's not very fun to just be sitting around the dorm all day, I guess is what I'm saying. And I could go out, sure, but I'd basically need to go walking distance because everything that is not walking distance is probably snowed shut. So, but if you guys have positive experiences with snow days, I would actually like to hear about them. I feel like they're probably something I can't appreciate because I never really got them, and the only time I did get a snow day prior to today and yesterday was when the power lines literally froze over and the power went out, so we had to go home. And that happened once across 12 years of schooling. So, you win some, you lose some, I guess. And I'm realizing now, definitely losing at this point.